To understand this better, let's take a trip to the zoo. Imagine that you're having a great time until you see a tiger inside a small cage. This causes you to contemplate what it would be like to live the rest of your life in such a tight space. The very thought is extremely frightening to you, but in truth, the confines of your comfort zone create just such a cage. This inner cage doesn't limit your body, it limits the expanse of your awareness. Because you are unable to go outside your comfort zone, you are, in essence, locked in confinement, like the tiger in a cage. If you examine this, you will see that you're willing to stay in this cage because you're afraid. Your comfort zone is familiar to you. Beyond it is the unknown. To fully appreciate this, just imagine the most paranoid person you have ever met in your entire life. He is so scared. Every moment of his life he thinks somebody's trying to hurt him. If you offer him that tiger's cage, he might accept your offer. He doesn't see it as being locked in a cage. He sees it as protection from what could harm him. That which looks like a prison to you looks like safety to him. What if a security service came to your house and bolted down all the doors and barred all the windows? If you happened to be inside at that time, would you panic and want to get out? Or would you thank them for helping you feel safe? Most people have the second reaction when it comes to the limitations of their persona. They want to stay in there and feel safe. They don't say, "Get me out of here. I'm locked in this tiny world in which everything has to be a certain way. I have to worry about what everybody's doing, what I look like, and everything I've ever said. I want out." Instead of wanting out, they try to keep their cage stable. If something is not comfortable, they do whatever they must to protect themselves and get back to a feeling of safety. If you've ever done that, it means you love your cage. When the cage of the persona got rattled, you fixed it so that you could be comfortable inside. When you truly grow, you realize you are caged. You wake up and realize that you can hardly move in there. You're constantly hitting the limits of your comfort zone. You see that you're afraid to tell people what you really think. You see that you're too self-conscious to freely express yourself. You see that you have to stay on top of everything in order to be okay. Why? There's really no reason. You have to set these limits on yourself. If you don't stay within them, you get scared. You feel hurt and you feel threatened. That's your cage. The tiger knows the limits of his cage when he hits the bars. You know the limits of your cage when the persona starts to resist. Your bars are the outer boundary of your comfort zone. The minute you come to the edge of your cage, it lets you know it in no uncertain terms. Let's look at this edge by way of an example. In the old days, if you wanted to keep your dog in the backyard, you had to put up a fence. Nowadays, you don't need a fence because everything is electronic. You just bury wires under the ground and put a little collar on the dog. The dog thinks, "Hey, I'm free. I used to have to be inside a fence. This is great." Of course, he goes running right to where he's not supposed to go, and zap! He jumps back and barks. What happened? An invisible limit was there, and when the dog approached that limit, it gave him a little shock. It hurt. It was uncomfortable enough so that now the dog feels fear whenever he approaches the boundaries.